Welcome to my demonstration on how to make a pumpkin with a small arrangement on top. Okay, so first of all, here are your materials that you'll need. You don't need tape, but you do need your floral adhesive or Elmer's glue or whatever kind of glue you guys got in your floral kits. In my case, I have shears, so if you have shears at home, you can use them for like that you may have from like gardening and stuff, but all of you have scissors, and so scissors are going to be enough for you to cut your flowers. You do need your bag of dried flowers like so, and of course your pumpkin. Okay, so the first step is that what to do with this stem. Some of you have a stem, some of you do not. Ideally we would have a shorter stem because you don't necessarily want this to be poking out. The whole point in this arrangement is that we want it to last for a long time, which is why you have dried flowers, things like that. Okay, so if you have shears, this will be easier, but you're going to try to cut the stem off as best as you can. A lot of you are going to be tempted. Yeah! Oh my gosh, I can't even do this. Whoa! Okay, that just flew across my classroom. Oh my gosh, we're always having fun in here. Anyway, so the whole point in this arrangement is that we want it to last for a long time, so we're going to put our dried flowers on top and we're going to glue them on there. So if you just like take your stem and like rip it off and there's like a giant gaping hole where you can actually see like the flesh of the pumpkin, and you like penetrated that and you like broke the skin, your pumpkin will now rot or it's gonna mold in some way, so it's not gonna live forever. Whereas this pumpkin, because I just cut the stem shorter, like where it's a little nub, it's still sealed, so this pumpkin is gonna last for a really long time. I even did this with a few students, with my students last year, where we put succulents on top. Well, that, like, some of those students have told me on Instagram that theirs is still alive, which is pretty crazy. Okay, but this year we're going to do dried flowers because they're way cheaper and easier for me to transport in your floral kits. So some of the flowers that you guys could have, some of you have like this, which is Statice, like a larger piece. Some of you have yellow, this Misty that has like a little bit of purple in it. Some of you have white or spray painted purple, pink, or just regular purple. We're going to use these first because they're so big. And we're going to incorporate the smaller ones and the corn broom towards the end. Okay, so all of these are filler flowers and they're dried. Okay, and so we're going to try to do our biggest to smallest. Some of these flowers are so dry and they're naturally like this from the thistle family, so your Statice might feel a little pokey, so just be careful for that. And the first thing you're going to do is that you're just going to kind of lay them around. I'm cutting them not super short, but just in pieces, but where there's still a lot of fluff. So if I cut this too much, like little pieces will start falling off. I don't necessarily want that. I want it all to be on one stem, and I want it to just be kind of laying with the empty parts of the stem to be overlapping each other, covering that stem portion. Okay, something like that. And of course I'm not gluing just yet because I'm just seeing if I like it, if I want it there. So we want like this drooping factor to happen, and we don't want it to be so huge that it's like not proportional. So we don't want it to be so huge that it's like overpowering the rest of the pumpkin. It's okay if we keep it a little petite, like a little cupcake or something, with it kind of drooping down, so that way it complements the pumpkin and not overwhelms it. We're starting with our Statice though because it's pretty large, and so it's covering up more space. Okay, so some of you have a white pumpkin and some of you have an orange pumpkin. Regardless, the colors should work. Okay, they should go together. And notice that there's still like gaps in between, right? There's like these gaps I call holes. When I say, oh, there's a hole in your arrangement, it means that you literally have a part of your arrangement that's like open and you need to fill it up with something else. Okay, so because I already have 3 pretty large pieces of status, I'm going to go ahead and add something else that I also think is pretty. And of course, you guys are kind of at the mercy of like what is in your bag. And what I'm doing is that, especially if you have larger pieces, say you have like a big piece like this that Miss McGuire just like stuffed in your bag, you don't want to put this entire stem like on your pumpkin because it's gonna fall off or just look overwhelming, right? So I'm just cutting with your scissors, my shears, little pieces like this, and then the stem is we're pretending that there's glue there, and it's just gonna naturally flow that way. Okay, you don't have to necessarily use your Misty Next. I just am because I like it, and I like that it's long. I like that it can, that it flows. It gives it like kind of length to the arrangement, as you can see right there. And I think it just makes it look, it kind of gives it its boundaries, if that makes sense. So I know I kind of want my Misty, if it falls, it's okay, just put it back. I don't want anything to go past my Misty because that's as long as I want it to be. Again, you don't want it to be like touching the middle or going all the way down to the bottom because it's just going to look overwhelming for it, okay? Again, I'm just placing it here, trying not to touch it too much so it falls apart, but I'm just placing it so that way I kind of know my boundaries and how I want this guy to look. Okay. At this point, all of my stuff is kind of falling off, so I know like this is my foundation, like this is what I want to start with, and then I'm going to add like my colors. Okay, so what we're going to do now is that we are going to take out our glue, and for me, I have it already in the bottle. For some of you, you have a whole container that you have to pour into a bottle. There's some of you that have Elmer's glue, and regardless, you're just going to take off all your flowers. With floral adhesive, a little bit goes a long way. So I have floral adhesive, that's my example for today. And I'm going to just cover my entire nub with glue. If you kept your stem on because you like it, just go around it. And what I'm doing is basically just keeping a little pool. So that way, and if I wanted to, especially if I want it to stick more to the face of the pumpkin, I can glue on my stem just a little tiny bit. See, that's even too much. Miss McGuire is being crazy today. But I'm just going to do this a little quickly so that way my pool doesn't totally dry out. And I'm going to make sure that my status is in the glue and that it's drying there, it's staying there, it's secure. Okay, sometimes it's hard to get it readjusted because you're like, oh wait, how did I have this before? Is it really gonna fit with all the glue? And you can always add more later. So now I really want my Misty to stay on my pumpkin, so I'm really lathering up because like the ends of the stems, because these stems, oopsie, you don't want to do that, too much floral adhesive. You don't want your stems to just fall off because they're so thin. These stems are so thin and they're pretty dry, so I'm just barely pushing out any kind of glue. Again, a little bit goes a long way. And sometimes you're like, okay, come on, come out. And I'm just gonna keep rotating my pumpkin around, gluing these portions. And what I like to do with the Misty especially is because my white pumpkin has grooves, which the orange pumpkins don't really have grooves, but I like to put the Misty in between the grooves because it just looks cute and more natural. And so that's what I'm doing, is that I'm just going in a circle and going around. That's what I'm doing. I didn't get any flowers yesterday.
They're coming today.
Today, okay.